Welcome back to another episode of the Planet Elevate AI podcast, where we explore the cutting edge world of AI and how it's shaping the future of business. I'm your host, Imran Kadri, and today we have a special guest who's making waves in the AI space. Joining us is Kevin McGrath, the co-founder and CEO of Mabel, a powerful runtime platform empowering technical teams to build and run confident AI. Kevin and his team are helping organizations harness AI with reliability, scalability, and trust at their core. With his deep experience in building products that unlock AI's full potential, Kevin brings a unique perspective on how AI is revolutionizing customer experience and transforming the way businesses approach sales and marketing. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Hey, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Brilliant. Kevin, it's fantastic to have you on the podcast. Before we dive in, could you share a bit about your journey, what led you to co-found Mabel, and what excites you most about the AI space today?
Sure. Yeah, been in technology for a long time. Ever since I was a kid, I always liked engineering and taking apart things and figuring out how they work. That eventually led into a career as a developer and engineer. And then most recently, actually, Meibel is kind of the brainchild of my co-founder, who worked with me at a previous startup and convinced me after acquisition to leave the acquiring company and come back and do the startup world again. Always been interested in AI, machine learning, especially. We did a lot of machine learning at the previous startup I was at. Machine learning obviously rolls right into where AI and generative AI are heading today. And we saw this great opportunity to help product and engineering teams build bespoke generative AI solutions. So we don't really focus on like the prescriptive agent side. We're not a co-pilot. We are a platform that product and engineering teams use to build their own bespoke generative AI solutions, whether that be entity extraction, classification, agents, and workflow systems of their own. Can all be built on top of Maybell without our customers having to worry about hosting infrastructure or understanding the complexities of how to measure inputs versus outputs and judge how well they're doing in production.
That sounds really, really good. Okay, then. So I think just for the audience there, Kevin, it would be great if you can just summarize some of the key problems you're looking to solve with the AI ecosystem through Mabel.
Sure. So I think the AI journey is an interesting one, right? So a few years ago, OpenAI came out with a tweet and everything changed, right? People started interfacing with ChatGPT, realizing that they can not only chat with it, but you can throw documents at it. You can do all kinds of different things. And what people see is this really, really compelling way to use AI to do things they've never been able to do before. However, when you want to run AI at scale and you want to use generative AI in a process that a human doesn't necessarily sit next to every time, you need to start building an actual pipeline and actual workflow. So you initially start using generative AI and you realize, wow, these results are really compelling. The answers I'm getting are nearly what I want them to be. The rest of the work can't be that much harder. But, the old adage of, 80% takes 20, you get 80% of the away down the road with 20% of the work. And then the last 20% takes you 80% of the work. Still holds true in AI. Unfortunately, it hasn't fixed that. It allows us to move faster. Co-pilots allow us to do a lot more things. But if you're doing things like entity extraction and classification over, hundreds of thousands of PDFs, or you work in the construction industry and you have unstructured documentation flying all over the place that you want to structure and automate. There's a lot of things that you need to do to build confidence in what the AI is doing and the output of that. You need to vectorize things that need to be vectorized. You need to worry about context engineering and how your context is being presented to the LLM. And you want to reduce your own hallucinations that could happen within an LLM by giving the right context at the right time. So there's a lot of different methods you can use with this. Like I said, you can start installing your vector database alongside your graph database, alongside your relational database, and stringing those together, and then sending people a context and A/B outputs to the end. There's unfortunately this long, complex AI ops structure that has to happen. So at Maybell, what we want to solve for is we want to allow product and engineering teams to not have to worry about setting up a productionized infrastructure so they can measure what they deploy in production. We allow engineers to use SDKs or APIs and get that infrastructure included into the platform so they can just start building. And then Maybell will take a look at the data and understands, hey, this data needs to be vectorized. This data actually references implicitly or explicitly one another. We'll store that in citations that reference to the vectors that'll get applied to the output. Or this information is just straight up structural information or relational information that needs to be stored in a database. So we'll do those things automatically. So on the other side, when you're building this AI experience, you don't have to worry about building all this infrastructure. You don't have to worry about how to measure. You don't have to worry about how to judge. The Maybell platform takes care of everything for you and allows you to move forward without doing all of that work yourself.
Wow, impressive indeed. Thank you so much there for the lovely insight into Mabel. Okay, so a bit about your entrepreneurial journey. What's been the most challenging yet rewarding part of your journey so far, Kevin?
I think customers, whenever you're an entrepreneur, it has to be about the customers at the end of the day. I mean, that's what drives your business and that's what drives the excitement of what you're building in general. Like when you set forth as an entrepreneur and you set forth with an idea, there's always the question is the idea in my head, is it a real idea or not? Right? Is someone going to like this enough not just to use it, but to pay for it, right? Which is ultimately what you're striving for as a business. Seeing customers get excited about using your product to do something that they haven't been able to do before, I think is the most exciting. To see an idea that a customer has had in their head that they haven't been able to get to the finish line because they didn't have the right tools to get there. So especially for us, being in that infrastructure software layer, seeing our customers be able to build things that they've wanted to build and they either hit a roadblock on their own or they didn't even start because they didn't know how to get there, and then being able to use Maybell to get to that finish line. That is the most rewarding. The more and more examples we have of that and the more and more customers we have doing that just energizes you to keep going, every single day and keep building the product.
Wow, really, really good indeed to hear. Customer first, brilliant. I like it. If you weren't working in AI, what do you think you'd be doing instead?
I wasn't working in AI. At one point in time, I really wanted to do something in the sports world. I grew up playing a ton of sports, not good enough to be great at any of them, but I really loved playing sports. I really loved team sports. I really liked playing hockey. I always thought if I wasn't an engineer that maybe I would have gotten into athletics in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, I wasn't on the path and you probably tell, but I was not on the path to become a professional athlete, but there's a lot of things you can do in the sports world. And I say that, and nowadays it's like maybe I'd still be doing AI, but over in the sports world somewhere. But I think if I had a second passion in life, at somewhere in my career, I decided, no, I'm going to do enterprise B2B, but I could have gone into maybe sports analytics or something more around, maybe hockey or baseball or something like that. I'd like to think that anyway. Maybe it was never going to happen, but I do enjoy I do enjoy playing sports myself, and I enjoy watching sports. Pretty much all I do. I don't have a Netflix series I watch. I'll plop down, and if I have 30 minutes of time, I'm watching a hockey game or a baseball game or something like that.
How about soccer? You call it soccer in
We call it
USA?
soccer. We call it
Yeah.
soccer. I played some soccer growing up or football. I never really got into a team there. I got to say, from growing up, football and hockey were the two sports that took like the number one and two position for me. Played a lot of baseball growing up, especially growing up, on this side of the pond in America. And I will say, I don't mind sitting down and watching a soccer match. I kind of understand what's going on, but there's just other sports that excite me a little bit more. And I know that's going to enrage some people when they hear it. But hey, listen, I hold nothing against people they watch soccer. Like it's still a sport at the end of the day. I respect the hell out of the athletes and everything like that. But if it's on with something else I have to watch, I'd probably pick a baseball or a hockey game or something over the soccer match.
Will that still be the case for the World Cup next year in USA,
I
Canada, and
watch, big
Mexico?
events. I'll watch the World Cup, right? Like I'll sit down. I'm not going to watch it like a fan, but I'll sit down and watch. I'll watch the U.S. until they're out of it, or hopefully they even get into it. I don't know where they are right now, but I know they're on this like constant like up and down slope. But we'll see how everything goes. But I will watch some World Cup, and maybe I'll watch the finale game or something.
Thank you for sharing that insight, Kevin. Really appreciate it. Okay, so AI has become a game changer in customer experience. From your perspective, what are the most impactful ways AI is reshaping how companies interact with their customers?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think there's multiple buckets of how companies are using AI to interact with their customers. I think one of the first things everyone did was kind of put an AI agent out on their website, and I think some companies have been hit or miss on how to do that. They obviously want to get information to their customers in a faster way. AI is a great way of doing that. You have to be able to put guardrails, and you have to be able to measure, and you have to be able to understand how these agents are communicating with your customers. Because what you don't want to do is create another level of frustration, right? So you got to make sure those are fidelity. The other way you can actually work with your customers, though, is by embedding AI into your products, for instance, and making your product work better with AI. So, for instance, one of our customers, I mentioned the construction space before, but one of our customers in the construction space, they RFPs and requests for proposals and bill of sale that come in all these different types of documents from their customers. And what's great is they don't have to prescribe to their customers how they receive these documents. The PDFs can be in any shape or form. The bill of materials can be in any shape or form. They get submitted to their SaaS platform, and with AI, they can highly accurately parse and understand these documents and then build specification plans for their customers much easier and faster. So this allows them to turn around a product to their customers faster, which we're actually more excited about at Meibel. So there's an interaction that you can do to make your customer experience better, get data to your customer, get questions answered for your customers better. I believe that's one bucket. But there's also a way to make your products better and make what you do as a business better with AI. And we focus more on that second pillar than the first, although our customers do build some conversational agents with us as well. But finding those processes and procedures that can accelerate your business forward, that makes your product better for your customers, I think is a very exciting route that more and more people are starting to see that AI is a good match for.
Brilliant. That leads me on to the next discussion point, which is about reliability. So, from your perspective, how does Mabel help teams build more reliable, confident AI solutions?
Yep. So we believe to build confident AI solutions, you can't deploy what you can't measure. So the first step is, are you measuring how well your AI is doing in some way, shape, or form? If you're not measuring the fidelity or the outputs of your AI, then it's going to be very hard for you to measure if you're doing better. And that's a very important part. So with the Maybell platform, from data ingestion to retrieval, we're scoring uncertainty across the system. That comes up in a confidence score. And the confidence score is what our customers use. They can use the score overall, or they can break it down into its 14 components to understand how the answer became the answer it is. Is the answer high fidelity? And are they going to use that answer to give to their customer? They can measure these answers in aggregate. So if you're running at scale, you can look how confident your answers are overall. And then you can start tuning. So based on the feedback from that confidence score, am I presenting the right data to a certain AI experience that I have? Is my prompt correct? Am I using the correct model? Do I need to use a smaller model? A lot of times we find to get more high fidelity answers, you need to actually pare down what you're sending to the LLM, not expand it. There's a lot of companies out there saying, hey, just give us all your data and we'll let the AI figure out, what's good and what's bad. If you have a very prescriptive thing that you want to get done for your business, what you want to do is you want to send the optimal amount of data and the optimal amount of context to an LLM, augment it with the information that's going to make that answer better, and then turn around and run that at scale. And that feedback loop, that constant feedback loop of how well am I doing? How well is my measurement? And then based on that measurement, what am I doing to make that experience better? That is the loop that you need to consistently make AI better for your organization. And then even with that, AI is not necessarily going to be 100% all the time. And that's also why you need to measure. When AI isn't giving out a confident answer, what do? Do you have a workflow for that? Do you have a back-end process that will either route that to a human or send it back to AI for a second retrieval? You need to think about, in a non-deterministic world, how do you handle these outputs that may not be high fidelity, and how do you limit them to as few as possible?
Fantastic perspective. Thank you so much there, Kevin. When it comes to sales and marketing, how are you seeing companies leverage AI to personalize outreach and predict customer needs?
Yeah, so I think this is one of the biggest areas that it's being used today. And I think we've all experienced both good and bad AI in the sales process. There's a lot of AI that's doing research on potential customers before the customer is even contacted. So you don't have generic emails going out, but like a email campaign where you're trying to use a static paragraph and send that out to, thousands and thousands of people. What you want to do is you want to get information about a particular customer. You want to narrow it down. You want to make that message as personalized as possible. I think we're still in the growing pains of making that work. I think there are places that do it well, and then there are places that don't, right? So if you're not, again, measuring how well those outputs are based on the persona you're going after, you could be injecting information that has nothing to do with that person, right? You could be injecting things that are too old, right? There's a lot of things in AI where time is a problem, right? Someone did something 10 years ago and that becomes the one thing that the AI is latching on for and sends to that person. You don't want that, right? You need to focus AI into the things that you want to do. But from a sales and marketing perspective, it is allowing sales and marketing leaders and people in those professions to do their job at a scale that they haven't been able to do it before, just by taking a lot of the research part and a lot of the initial outreach part kind of off their hands. Now, I do think, depending on what type of business you're in, it takes a person to close the deal in at least B2B sales a lot of times, depending on what your ACV and different things are there. But AI is definitely a tool in the tool bag. And I think it's something that is going to make, especially sales and marketing teams a lot more efficient in what they do. I do think you have the same problems over there, though. If you're not measuring how well that message is reaching the customer, then you're just kind of, putting your finger in the air and hoping it's better than what you would have come up with on your own.
Fantastic. Again, really, really good summary there on how AI could add value to sales and marketing. What role do you think real-time AI insights plays in optimizing the customer journey over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, everything happens at runtime, right? So the big thing about AI is measurement while it's running. So there's building the model, there's deploying the model, and then there's applying data to the model while it's running. And I think a lot of our time gets wrapped up on what is the model doing? How is the model thinking? What is the model doing? Model, 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 model. A lot of it has to do with how well is your data? How well is the context engineering that you're actually feeding the model? And are you measuring at runtime? Are you presenting your data the correct way to the LLM? Are you getting your responses back in the correct way? And are you augmenting the model with the correct things that you need? So, for instance, if you ask a question that is a quantitative question over a large set of data, and then you want a quantitative analysis on that. So, like, let's say you have a large ticketing system and you want to say, how many tickets were of poor performance in my system, and tell me why. You need something like an MCP plugin, or you need a platform that goes and does a query for you, gets accurate information, and then pairs that with an LLM data. You don't want to just go to an LLM and throw all your data at that and say, hey, give me aggregated statistics on what's going on. You need a platform that will bifurcate the quantitative and qualitative process before it comes back together at the end. And then you need to measure how well that is going forward. So I think over the next 3 to 5 years, what you're going to find is, unfortunately, we don't have a hammer and everything's not a nail, right? There are different tools in the tool bag that you need to make AI run successful. And you either will need to do a DIY on your own, or you'll have to go out to a vendor or a platform to help you build those things in the correct way.
Okay, interesting insight. Thank you. For companies that are still hesitant about adopting AI, what would you say is the first practical step they should start to transform? Sorry, they should take to start transforming their customer experience.
You need to find a way to start using AI yourself. So, if you're not using AI yourself today in some way, shape, or form, then you are not ready to use AI. AI is so prevalent and so accessible that there has to be a way you can start using it, whether for your business or for your personal use. And it doesn't really matter which one you start with, because even if you want to use AI for your business, you need, and you're worried about using it with your business data for some reason, and you haven't jumped in there, you need to start using it with something. Because if you don't understand how AI operates, you're never going to understand how to implement it for your business. Now, obviously, the best way is to find a small use set for your business that you can start applying AI to. Let your developers use co-pilots. Let your sales team and other things use chat GPTs or Claudes or different things like that to augment, how they're writing emails and how they're doing things. You need to start by starting. You need to find a place where you're comfortable that everyone in your organization starts using it. And the reason for that is AI is such a transformative technology that it's going to start bleeding into everything you use anyway, right? It's going to be when you order food at a fast food restaurant. It's going to be when you go to the store to buy something. It's going to be online when you're searching for something. AI is going to be embedded in literally everything that you do in life. And if you don't start understanding on how to use it, then you're going to be behind the curve on implementing it as well. So I always say it sounds very basic, but the first thing to do is start. If you're not embracing AI, your company's not going to embrace AI. So I think it starts with you, especially if you're a leader in your organization. Like, you better start using it, and it better not be you just dictating out to other people that they need to start implementing AI in the organization.
It starts with you. I like the motto there. Thank you, Kevin. I think we'll use that in this podcast. Brilliant. Okay, so we going into the quickfire fun wrap-up segment of the podcast, Kevin. You'll be
All
pleased to
right.
know. What's one AI tool you personally can't live without?
AI tool I personally can't live. Well, Maybell. We dog food Maybell, so I'll give you the generic answer there. But I use Maybell all the time on the back end for building different things that I build every day. I would say outside of that, though, I do use the different agents. I use Claude. I use ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT has done great things with agent and deep research and things like that. I do embrace AI. Not only building AI with the Maybell platform, but also using AI like an assistant. And I think one of the things that I do as a CEO is I challenge AI to challenge me as different personas that I need to deal with, right? I come from an engineering background. I've worked my way up to VP, GM level, now a founder. I realize that I don't know everything in the world. And sometimes I can't iterate with an expert right away in whether I'm doing sales or whether I'm doing marketing or whether I want to test an idea. And so being able to use AI and tell AI, hey, you're a persona in this specific space, like you are a marketing person or you're a persona in a customer space that I want. And then I can interact with AI in that way. And then I can challenge myself to kind of think in different ways. I love using AI for that. And I probably use AI for that at least, a handful of times every single day to get my brain to think about things in a different way than my engineering mind is used to thinking about it.
Wow, fascinating stuff. If AI could instantly master one skill for you, what would you choose? I think you've touched on it previously, but if you can just maybe
I
home
could
in on one.
master one skill. I believe we talked about this in a prep meeting. I'll bring this back up, but I'm still unsuccessful at getting to inbox zero after all of these years. I had this problem right before. So for this podcast, when we were doing the prelude to this podcast, when we were meeting each other for the first time, I was coming in from trying to get to inbox zero, and you asked me this question. And so I'm going to give you the same answer that I gave you beforehand. Like,
Sure.
if there was something that could actually get me to inbox zero, and I haven't found it yet, not in a way that I need it, then you would get my money at that point in
Okay.
time. And I'm sure there's someone out there building something who's going to hit me up on LinkedIn like directly after this and be like, I have the thing. So let's see where that goes.
I think I'm joining you on that list, Kevin. Okay, so if you could just kindly finish the sentence. In 5 years, AI will.
AI will be prevalent across most things that you do in your daily life, whether you know it or not.
Okay. Could you elaborate a little bit more?
I think going back to an answer before, I think your interactions in life, AI is going to be based in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a shopping experience, whether it's going to a concert, whether it's buying something, whether it's going to a show. AI is starting to get embedded in so many different things that we do that it's going to be this kind of invisible technology that you will notice if you understand it. But if you don't, you're not even going to realize that AI is affecting your life in some way, shape, or form. It already is now in small ways. But I think in 5 years, almost everything you do throughout a day could have AI baked into it somewhere along the chain, whether it's overt to you or not.
Okay, just one final question from me. Looking back at this artifact behind you, I think for small audience, they won't recognize it, but if you can just describe what that is and what would the AI equivalent look like or feel like or sound like?
This is a boombox, and we used to have these things back in the 80s and 90s. It still works. You can still plug it in, and it still produces sound. But this is a very special one. This was actually a prop we also used at our wedding. So I keep it on the shelf here, but I've had it for a very long time. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that boom boxes are kind of going out of style. When I was a kid, it was always, what's your boombox setup? Like, who had the best speakers? Who had the best stack, right? Remember, it was like all about the audio stack. You had this like great audio stack in the middle, and then everything else. But it's a good memory for me. And I don't know that the AI equivalent. I think we're going in a crazy place in the music industry with maybe in the next 5 to 10 years. Who knows how much of our music will have AI infused to it too? Like going back to my previous answer, artists will start using AI to do cool things, right? So I always remember a David Bowie interview where he talked about when they started adding electronics to music. They didn't know what they were doing at first, right? They just started playing around with like these different things they could do with electronics, and like he had like this like metal pole, and it made different vibration sounds when they pulled a magnet, close and far away. They figured out how to bake that into music and do different things, right? Like is a lot different than a magnet, obviously, but artists are going to start figuring out how to blend AI in with what they do. We're going to run into a world where there could be, a top chart that is completely AI based. It'll be interesting to see where we go with that and how artists use it, but I think it's going to get it. AI is definitely going to make its way into the music industry as well. I mean, it has already, but it'll get more and more prevalent.
Brilliant. We'll wait for that to come, Kevin. Thank you so much there. It's been an absolute pleasure, Kevin, to have you on the show on the Planet Elevate AI podcast. Your insights into how companies can build confident AI and leverage it to transform customer experience has been truly inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and expertise with us today. And also to our listeners, if you want to learn more about Mabel and how it's helping technical teams harness the full power of AI, check out Meibel.ai. Anywhere else that our audience can go, Kevin, to learn a bit more about the work being done at Mabel?
Mabel.ai, Meibel.ai. You can also get us on LinkedIn. And I am Kevin at Meibel.ai if you want to get in contact with me directly.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you. So then, until next time, I'm Imran Kadri, and this has been the Planet Elevate AI podcast, elevating you to success. Thank you.